Hi, I'm Donna Jordan from Jordan Fabrics. Today I'm going to show you how to make a patchwork pillow. Now we've actually made this pillow before. When we did the Slice of Cake 4 video, the patchwork gave us some little scrap pieces, some little leftovers that we got while we were making the big quilt. And so that's what I used to make the pillow. But we've had a lot of people ask, how do I make just the pillow? I'm not going to make the quilt, but I want to make that cute pillow. So that's what I'm going to show you how to do today. We're going to use layer cake squares to make the patchwork. And I've got this nice set from Robert Kaufman. These are Christmas prints because Christmas is coming up pretty soon and I want to get a few more projects made. So you're going to need 4 layer cake squares to make 1 pillow. But I've written the pattern to make 2 pillows because then we can use 8 different prints and we'll have a very nice variety of fabrics in our pillows. The only other thing we need is 3/4 of a yard for the background and the backing for each pillow. So I'm going to use 1.5 yards because I'm making 2. The first step is to pick out the 8 layer cakes that we're going to use. And I want to get those that have a nice contrast with the background. So I'm going to get some reds, and I love that poinsettia. We'll get a gray. There's the 8 that I'm going to use, and they all get cut exactly the same way. They're going to get cut to 3¼ inch squares. So all I'm going to do is straighten off this edge and cut away the pinked part. So that edge will be nice and neat. And then measure over 3¼ and make my cuts. Now you may not feel comfortable cutting 8 layers. Feel free to cut 4 or 2 or whatever you're comfortable with. So there are all the squares. The next step is to take half of them. I'm going to take the lighter ones and we're going to draw a line on the back side of them from corner to corner. Now these are pretty light, so I'm going to use a pencil. If you're using dark squares, you might want to use a chalk pencil. I've gone ahead and brought all the squares over to my sewing machine. I'm going to take a darker one and a lighter one, put them right sides together, and then I'm just going to stitch on both sides of that drawn line. So you can go down the one side, swing it around, and down the other. And I'm going to go ahead and do that with all of these squares. So I'm using a 1/4 inch seam allowance here. I'm a 1/4 inch away from that line. My presser foot happens to be a 1/4 inch wide, and a lot of them are, but if yours is different, you can just make whatever adjustments you need so that you're a 1/4 inch away from the drawn line. Our next step is to cut along all of these drawn lines. So I'm just going to put my ruler right along there, make a slice. Now all we have to do is open these up. So I like to put the lighter fabric down on my ironing board, and then I peel it open, and I'm holding this seam so it stays straight. Then I iron with a dry iron and then a little steam. Those are all done, and now we need to cut up a little bit of the background. So I'm going to start by cutting this into 3¼ inch strips, and that's so I can get 3¼ inch squares, and that is exactly the same size that we started with when we cut our layer cake squares. And I need exactly the same amount of squares also. Now you don't have to remember any of these numbers because we have a free pattern, and that will give you all the sizes and all the quantities. Now we're going to mark the back of these half square triangles. So again, we're going from corner to corner and we're going across that seam. So we're drawing it this way. And you may want to switch to a different color here if it won't show, but I can see it there. So go ahead and mark the back of all of those. We're heading back to the machine with the half square triangles and the background. take one of each and put them right sides together. Now the background is bigger, and we're just going to put this on there anywhere. It doesn't matter if it's a little crooked, it doesn't matter if it's not centered. It just matters if there's a little bit of background showing all the way around the edges, because we're going to trim these down to size later. So again, stitch a 1/4 inch away from the drawn line on both sides. Now we're ready to trim these down. The first step is to cut it in half right along the pencil line that we drew on there earlier. Now we need to trim these to an exact size. We're going to use our ruler to cut these down, and we need to do a line on our ruler from 2.5 inches down and 2.5 inches over. I need a line right there, so the easiest way to get one is to get some masking tape. It has a nice straight edge, and I'm just going to put this from the 2.5 there to the 2.5 there, and this won't gum up your ruler. It'll come off and it won't leave any residue. So now we've got a nice line there, and that line is going to go on our stitching line here. So get this evened up so it's along the line. Then we want the tip here to go on that stitching line. So line this up and then move this over so the tip is right there, and then just trim off the excess here. And what we will end up with is a nice square, accurate block. Now, anytime I'm stitching with light fabrics, I use a light colored thread, but I'm not sure you can see what I'm talking about. So I made a sample here with black thread. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to line up the tape with the stitching line here. Then I'm going to line up the tip of the ruler on that black stitching line right there. Once it's all lined up, I'm just going to trim away this excess. A little bit of excess there. There we go. Now, if you happen to have a strip tube ruler, this already has lines drawn on it, and this can be used exactly the same way. So we're going to put the 2.5 inch line on the stitching line here, and the tip, there's actually a line there that goes right on that stitching line, and you can use this as well to trim your blocks. The last step is to iron these open. So I like to put the patchwork side down, peel open the dark, give it a steam press, and then all we have to do is trim off these two little bits here that are called dog ears. Okay, we're ready to do the layout now. So I'm going to start at the top of the pillow, and we're going to start making our chevron shape. So that's the easiest way to do it, is look at the dark fabrics and turn them so we're getting the up-down chevron look with the dark. The pillow is 8 blocks wide and 8 tall, and right now I'm just putting the colors in the right spot. In terms of the black, I'm not going to worry too much about what is going next to what with these lighter colors. I'm just going to make the pattern follow the right shape. So we've got a dark chevron, and then we've got a patchy multicolored chevron. There, that's the whole pillow, and I didn't really look what color went where. I just laid them out. Now I like to stand back and see these two are pretty close together. Maybe I'll trade it around. So they're in opposite spots. So make sure you've got it balanced the way you want. You don't have too much of one color all in one area, but it's pretty much ready to sew together now. So I'm just going to take the whole cutting mat right next to my sewing machine, and that way I can easily see which patches to pick up. All I'm going to do now is pick up this first row in order. So I'm not going to turn any of the patches. I'm just going to pick them up in this order and then take them right up to the sewing machine and sew them together in a row. So all I'm going to do now is flip this stack upside down, and this is the first piece that was on the left. This is the next piece. So I'm going to sew these two together, slide my stack over, and I'm going to just add pieces to the right each time. If you find it easier to put a pin in and mark which piece goes where, you can do that. But all I have to do now is take this piece. Now it's going to go like that, but since it was on the stack like this, I can simply place it right there. I don't have to spin it. I don't have to turn it right side up or anything. So this is the easiest way for me. I sew a piece on and then take the next piece and plop it right down on there. And I'll do that until the row is done. Now I'm going to finger press all the seam allowances in the same direction. So I'm just taking my fingernail or the pad of my finger and drawing it right along that seam. Whatever works the best, you can even just squish it. And then we're going to put this row right back where it was. And then I'm going to grab the next row, do the same procedure, but with this row, I will press all the seam allowances in the opposite direction. And I will keep making rows and keep alternating the directions of those seam allowances till all the rows are done, and then I can sew the rows together. The patchwork is all stitched together, and now we need to iron it. Now I finger pressed it, but it's still pretty lumpy, so I like to start from the back side. So I'm just going to press my iron here and pull a little bit this way, and I'm kind of lifting the iron up a little bit and just squashing down these seam allowances so they will lay more in the direction I want. I'm not going to steam yet. I'm just kind of lifting and pressing so all of the seams where I sewed the rows together are all going this way. Once I get it flat enough where I think they're going to lie that way, then I'm going to turn it over. And this is a little bit easier if I have the seams going up. And I'm going to press it a little with my hands, start at the bottom here, and pull a little bit this way and steam press, then push that seam open a little. So I'm just going to gently add steam as I get it flatter. And that way I'm not ironing in valleys. I'm getting everything pulled open. And once it seems like it's pretty flat, then you're still going to have to hold with the iron here, pull this way and iron, and do this repeatedly. There's a lot of little seams in it. And then we're going to do the same thing sideways, and we're going to keep repeating this. I'm even going to turn it some. Keep doing this till we get it nice and flat, and you can even take it over to your cutting board and make sure that you're ironing it square and not like a rhombus. So sometimes you have to coax it back into shape. So just keep pressing till it's nice and smooth. The top is all done and ironed nice and flat. Now I'm going to take a scrap piece of fabric here. It's just solid light colored fabric, and a scrap piece of batting. This is just some leftovers from one of my quilts. And I'm going to put the patchwork top on top of both of these layers. That will give my pillow top just a little bit of cushioning and a little bit of dimension, and I'm going to stitch all around the edges. I don't need to pin it because it's pretty small, but feel free to put a couple of pins in if you like. So I'm stitching pretty close to the edge here, a little bit less than a 1/4 inch from the edge of the raw edges there. Here are the 2 pieces of backing for the envelope backing on the pillow. And all I did was do a narrow hem. I just turned it twice and stitched right along that long edge on 2 of those pieces. So I'm going to take the first one and I'm going to put it right sides down on top of the pillow. And I'm going to slide this raw edge down till it's just a little bit beyond that patchwork on the edge there. And then I'm going to fold this down about 3 inches. It doesn't have to be an exact amount, and you can just kind of press it with your hands. Then I'm going to take the other half of the backing and I'm going to put it right sides down with that narrow hem here, and I'm going to slide this down so that it's just beyond the edge of the patchwork there, and it's overlapping this, and I'm going to put some pins all the way around the edge. So there's about 3 pins on each side, and that should be plenty. And now we're going to take it to the sewing machine. Now the pins are on this side, but we can't stitch from this side because we can't see where to sew. But on this side, where we did that edge stitching, that's going to be our sewing guide. So we're going to stitch just inside it. So I'm going to take it over to the machine here, and I'm either going to go right on top or just a hair inside that. And be sure to take those pins out before you come to them so you don't break your needle. So I just stitched all the way around, and now all I have to do is cut off the excess here. So I'm leaving about a 1/2 inch or 3/8 inch all the way around the edges, and I'm going to, on the corners, I'm going to clip off a little, not too close, but just a little bit of the bulk. The final step is to turn this right side out. So all we're going to do is reach inside here to the far corners and turn it right side out. And then of course I'm going to poke these corners out just a little bit so they're pointy. Do that for all 4 corners, and the pillow will be done. So I've just got 1 finger inside there, and I'm poking that corner out pretty firmly. And now we can just smooth it out and put a pillow inside it. Now this is just a pillow form that I got at a craft store. It's meant to be put inside a pillow cover. So what you need to do is just squish it in there pretty good, because we've got a nice overlap in our pillow, but these squish real well. So you do the 1/2 and then squish it into the corners in the other half, and just smash it around. Get your opening nice and flat. Smooth it around like that, and that's all there is to it. I've got both pillows done now, and they're a little bit different. So this is the first one with Chevron's patches. Now the second one, I turned the blocks just a little bit different, and now we have these diamonds here. Now in these colors, it almost looks like peppermints. I like both of them. They can be used together, and of course it just shows you can turn your blocks different ways and get a lot of different layouts. This pattern looks good in Christmas fabrics. Of course it looks good in non-Christmas fabrics, so this is a great last-minute project if you want to make something to decorate for Christmas, or you want to make a Christmas gift for someone. So one thing I want to mention, I didn't do any quilting on the top of this pillow. This one, it has a solid fabric here, and I thought the quilting would show up nicely here, and I didn't think I would see it all on the print here. So you can feel free to do straight line quilting, any kind of quilting in there if you like, and that can dress up the pillow as well. Thanks for watching our video today. We hope you enjoyed it. Now at the end of every video, we do a giveaway, and today's giveaway is called Upstream. This is one we made a tutorial to show you how to make it. These are all K facet prints. It's nice and bright and cheerful. It's got a nice batik backing on it. So it's very easy to enter the giveaways. All you do is click the link below that says giveaway and put in your name and your email address. And remember, we can send this to a winner anywhere in the world, so good luck. Now, if you like our videos and you want to support us, the best thing you can do is subscribe to our YouTube channel. That really helps us out. Happy quilting!